Have you ever seen something out of the corner of your eye and wondered, what was that? That feeling, the sense that something almost registered, lingers. You replay it in your mind and begin to wonder, did I just see something I wasn't supposed to? What if those glimpses aren't tricks of the brain, but cracks in our perception, brief windows into cosmic geometries and hidden truths? What if they aren't illusions at all? What if they are monsters? Bloodborne is a world overflowing with grotesque creatures and eldritch gods, but one of its most terrifying horrors is hidden in plain sight. Perched above cathedrals, wrapped around towers, watching silently, the Amygdala. And for most of the game, you never even notice it. On this episode of the Astral Reliquary, we explore the science of perception and the cosmic horror at the heart of Bloodborne through the silent gaze of the Amygdala. Before we talk about Amygdala, it helps to understand the world it inhabits. Bloodborne is an action horror game set in the decaying Gothic city of Yharnam, a place obsessed with blood, healing, and forbidden knowledge. On the surface, Bloodborne looks like a traditional monster hunting story. Beasts roam the streets, and as a hunter, we are tasked with killing these beasts by a church that preaches salvation and healing through blood ministration. But beneath that surface, Bloodborne is not about fighting monsters. It's about what happens when humanity reaches beyond its limits. As the story unfolds, the game slowly reveals that the plague is not just a disease, the church is not a savior, and the monsters are not the true horror. Bloodborne blends gothic horror with cosmic horror, shifting from fear of the unknown to fear of knowing too much. This is the world where Amygdala exists, and in a city obsessed with seeing the truth, some truths begin to see back. Most horror creatures exist to threaten you. Amygdala does not. It does not stalk the player, it does not announce itself, and it doesn't react when it's discovered. It simply exists, because to the Amygdala, you don't matter. This aligns with the foundational idea of cosmic horror. The universe is not hostile, it is indifferent. Amygdala's horror comes not from what it does, but from the realization that it was always there, and if it was always there, what other things are lurking just out of view? Bloodborne has a theme of growing eyes on the inside of our minds so we can gain insight into forbidden places. This is used as a gameplay mechanic where the player is able to gain insight by defeating bosses, gaining forbidden knowledge, and understanding the truth of the world. This knowledge doesn't empower the player, though. It shows the true reality of the world. As our insight increases, the world changes around us, enemies change, sounds change, and eventually the Amygdala becomes visible. This is not narrative flavor, but a mechanical expression of epistemology, the study of knowledge itself. Epistemology is the branch of philosophy concerned with one deceptively simple question: what can we know, and how do we know it? It asks things like what counts as knowledge, what is perception versus reality, and are there limits to what a human mind is capable of understanding? Most of the time, we assume knowledge is a good thing, that learning more about the world makes us safer, smarter, more in control. Bloodborne challenges that assumption. In epistemology, one of the most unsettling ideas is that human knowledge is not a clear window onto reality, it's a filter. Our senses evolve not to show us the truth of the universe, but to keep us alive. We don't see reality as it is, we see a version of reality that's useful. Bloodborne takes this idea seriously. Insight doesn't give the player access to truth in a clean, empowering way. It erodes the filter. In many philosophical traditions, there's an idea that some truths are epistemically inaccessible, not because they're hidden, but because the human mind isn't equipped to process them safely. Knowing them doesn't enlighten you, it destabilizes you. Bloodborne turns this into a mechanic, and instead of clarity, the result is fear, confusion, and fragility. This is what we might call epistemic horror. Not fear of being attacked, but fear of understanding too much. The terror doesn't come from ignorance, it comes from realization. Realization that the world is larger than you thought, that your senses are unreliable, and that your mind was never designed to grasp the whole truth. Bloodborne doesn't punish curiosity, it shows you the cost of satisfying it. This is where Amygdala becomes more than a monster. Amygdala is not hidden behind a locked door, it's not waiting at the end of a dungeon, it's already there. You simply lack the epistemological framework to notice it. When your perception changes, when your knowledge expands, Amygdala doesn't arrive. It becomes visible. In that sense, Amygdala isn't a revelation, it's a consequence. Epistemology is unsettling because it suggests a terrifying possibility. Reality doesn't change when we learn more about it, only our relationship to it does. Bloodborne resonates because it makes that idea playable. It asks the player, if knowing the truth makes you weaker, would you still want to know it? Amygdala represents what happens when perception exceeds human design. In neuroscience, perception is not a direct feed of reality. Your brain is a filter. Humans evolved to detect threats, food, social cues, and motion. We do not perceive reality as it is. We perceive only what keeps us alive. Examples of this are all around us. We see less than 0.003% of the electromagnetic spectrum. We don't perceive quantum effects directly, and we collapse complex sensory input into simplified models. This is called perceptual filtering. In other words, reality is vastly larger than what the human brain allows through. Bloodborne weaponizes this idea. Insight doesn't add information, it removes the filter. There's another scientific layer here as well. Humans are evolved to understand 3 spatial dimensions, but mathematics allows for 4th-dimensional objects and higher-dimensional geometry and structures that can exist without fully intersecting our space. If a higher-dimensional being existed, we wouldn't see it fully, only fragments or projections, and only when our perception aligned correctly. Amygdala behaves exactly like this. It is partially present, partially unseen, anchored to architecture like a dimensional overlap. Bloodborne doesn't say Amygdala is invisible. It says you lack the perceptual framework to notice it. And this is where the true horror of Bloodborne lies. Traditional horror says you are in danger. Cosmic horror says you were never relevant. Amygdala doesn't change when seen, the player changes. This reflects a terrifying scientific truth. Some truths are psychologically incompatible with the human mind. Not all knowledge is survivable. In Bloodborne, insight is not power, it is liability. Amygdala isn't terrifying because it exists, it's terrifying because it's always existed. And one day, through science, curiosity, or obsession, we might finally learn how to see what our minds were never meant to perceive and grow eyes on the inside of our brains. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy exploring cosmic horror and monsters through art, science, and storytelling, like and subscribe to the Astral Reliquary. Until next time, remember, some truths are better left unseen.